I'm not asked to that. Band of greedy, be free. Prestige the last breath of the fortune, the favorite for sons, not me. Not the kind soul to keep tearless with the villain of death to hear. The dudes to find the will to weep for this, the horn of worst to plague, this in the ears and earth and tears. And ask that for the death of the find the freedom for the life of the night. Folly for the mankind, at least at last to quit my side. I spare the whispering, crowded room, the friends who come, those with the gloom. Gape and go ceremonious, which makes this a fine hideous show. Not to bring the seeds to live for the sum, the doctor for the phrase of the fame. You know that this is be the head and the give and all, for the cannot hear the name, for this the fetching of the accustomed, for the toll, for this to be the poor, for the bound or that, for the death of this, the brand, the doctor of the soul, for the canvas of your official breath. I find the future for the viewless things. Undiscovered for the mystery and what you can feel. Must need to read clearer than I can find. Bring to none of these, let me be. For the with all of the silence of the lies of the boot to your window, for the near enough to see for the born before dying eyes high. Baby, the sacred to do in the morning. Why the aerial landscape in the spread world, but this is where I was born, for this is the last when I never the friend of one. Not the promised love it cannot give, and this and all for the generous. Generosity of the sun for the live, of itself for this to make us live. Let me gaze till I become in the soul. For the gaze unknown with the universe back home. For this a heaven over the mind is instead, and death for the sick in the room for the mortal strife. Turmoil for the little breath, for the pure, for the eternal course of your life, and not the human combating with. Feeling a gaze and let me grow, compose, refresh, and listen and enable. Clear then and willing for the spirit to go, for the work on you waiting for the elsewhere here I find. What's next to define your romantic? It was sort on the same as growing old. It was a phenomenon in the future. In a voice you can find born in a ship, but you can have the gratitude forever. You list your voice into the verming of the wonder and joy, for the spreading of the arms of life, for the banks of the stream, for the listening that seems and the all, for the thought that's been, and for the you can now wait. Echoing the seams, screams of the eagles that you can find in him. A hum gorge of the bed for the distant newborn, clear for the flowing of a stream. Whether you see the first light, for this is the sluggish winds, for this the through the plain, for this the sound of the swallowing sea, for this is the world of the thing, for the mind of the man, for the vanishing of what you can have the glass of this a fading dream. Fabled enough for the land, for the river of the time. This is the woke it up at the breast, for the such of reaching eyes, and this is close enough for the tracking of what you sail, for this is all your thoughts, and this is raised by the objective for the passing of who sees the green earth anymore. She was by the sources of time. Imagine the field as they lay in the sunshine, unworn by who thinks is that for the thought, for the tribes of the Rome, who find this vigorous and the primitive sun. Now I read that box clear enough for the read. This is safe for the owner and the eve of the palm and get a shade as well. Regards that the deepest this the spring for spring, feeling of the tranquil the soft for sure. Boy, band and you can grow over this town for the merge, and the feeling for the wavering in the lights of the wilderness of the stream. This is the choir not for the calming and for the holy shore, for this the peace of its own. With the waters and hushing over your expanse of where you float. Freshening in the current, spotted with foam and youth dream that for the ocean may strike the peace the soul demand find the breath. Prepare for this to be the widening around him, for this to be the dinner for the way for the stars to come out your night wind, for this bring out the stem, for this is the define a stream, the sense and time to find the infinite sea. That's all I had for the voice, the mind, the body and the spirit, the connection. The wave mean allow the kindleness for this to be the narrow wave, for to be said enough for the standing fast. Connection to seesaw for this to be thriving for the kindling of what you find wandering over since birth. And this is the last word I said for this the future, for this to be the scholar for the never defined in vain. One set for the stand fast, for this to break the last of this contention of a season the swans and yogis. And to really find the best to be still, for this to be the torn. Better, fair before, fine. Highly charged, this is saying the last, so this would be then enough for the victorious, and this would be the only to find the fail, the folly for enough to find the body of the wall, or the voice, or the last word to be a kindling glance, enough for the bright moon that lands and trying to find a train, quality for the spear, for this is sleepless water, for the lonely mirror, for this is ways and more. Shiver, your tears of sorrow for you shed prayers that tomorrow shall vain and sped up with the flubber for the flow. Lies frozen to death for the throbbing of what you can find for this to bring no rest. This is the bright waves that will fall for like a life of like emotion for the lifeless. Marching the sparkling ocean, wild as rose, climbing up in the moldering raw for the sun beaming through your hall, and I can find a standing glad in music, and this is sad enough for the wild to start. Sob with heart for the anxious and pain, dearly for the doubtful of which you tolerate with the change. And thought for such a contrast, strange and unforgotten voice accents to come for the wandering where the world's as streaming is for the into the ancient home of vain, and this will be the beating goodbye in the ear again. Who's to find and loot like tones in the bygone year? For this is still for the mind of the ear again, for the thrilling and the summons of the will, for this to be the shaking for the making of most from the heart for the look for the blood, spilled enough for the breaking, and I could find my heart broken. Putting back together, refurbished. Or was it restoration? It was all relative. For this to be the desolate, for this to widen the waste of mine and wood, for this to move the mace of mine to find the theorem, for this to be the never for the moving yourself like a human thing. Behind that air for the deep, for the sleep, for the snow, for the red, for the blue, for the gray, for the crumbling of the stone, for this to be the wheat overgrown, for the water for flow, for this to be the shore, for the single boat I can walk across the shoreline. There was no margin, find a border. Is something worth studying. Just live your life selfless. We all are connected together in alchemy. It's your blissful awareness will send you to the light. Upon your sea of blissful awareness, then waits are ecstatic as love arise, a rapture divine. God's bliss inhaling for this to the wondrous wave of the sweetest thing you can never be. You're chanting as the surface, assuming all forms of the fractures once more for the great communion, for the merging in walls of time, for the space to dissolve. Vanish, stand for the mind, for the dance of the delight, for the upraising and chanting your holy name. I can see all the gates of the year, for there was another beside him alone. The maker of all creation is God, a spirit for the deep hidden, for the eye and the man for all things. God is the spirit of spirits of creation, the spirit divine. God is God from the beginning, for the before things were I was, he was God. Lord of the distance and his Alpha, on the existence, for the this of the Father, for the God external, for the one, for the everlasting, perpetual, eternal, for the unending, for the this of the endless of the time, for the that you could bend that, for the hands forever, for the God is hidden. Medicine from the perceiving like the likeness and mysterious and comprehensible, for the God is truth, for this is truth, the death you live with this is the king for the truth, the divine, and I can find the God is the living through him. So where I dwell, he dwells in me. Tears of joy for the meaning in the song creation. Just behold the peerless of the face of the beaming and low for the fear I will ever will. Frown and sound, first ray of dawning for the sun's disciples, for the dispute, the depth of the dark for the world, the blessed light for the burst of the within the heart, for the scatters and the grief and pain, and sweet as the bone where I can find the love and the grace of the ponder on. In my heart's in deepest of depth, the tears of joy are streaming down my cheeks and racing for the beyond, but the heaven grace gracious over the over one proclaiming love and man name and breath of pride for the this for me, for the them, for the I can work, and this is the find the divine merging again. What was that meaning in the compliment for the sad, for the who stood, for the gate, for the year, for that was confined, for the safety unknown, for this to be the darkness to pour in your hand, for the hand of God, for this should be known, for the better, for the life, for the safer, for the known way, for the fourth and find the hand of God gliding into the night, breaking of the day, for the lonely since you could find a heartbeat still, for the need for the human to know what is the comprehension of what they could find and follow. Strive for things is high and low, and this be the intention by which you all mean. Song of creation's home. Exercise your freedom to evolve. Realization for the you could be the I can. Seeker for the knowing the conscious mind. And this is for the difference of the form of your newest. And this is the preference of your individual as a seeker. The principle for the branch for the dealing with the particular I can ask and find an aspect of careful examination which cannot be contained by the mind. You find a straightforward path in this approach. Experience now for the living, for the present, for the servant of God creation. Destiny is otherwise for the wanting to live in, for the world, for the love of the world, for the living for the world, and you can have that for this the meditation to reveal the nature for the mind. I am quiet in a blissful state of awareness in a steady state. I can find the article, the piece of part of that for the particle. love you. And I sing these songs like high notes and they were suicide. I'll hang myself with high notes, and if I could sing like suicide, I'll see you in the afterlife. There's no beginning or beginning. There's the same thing, rhetorical. I could find an article for the distance between the article. You can find a part for the tears of joy you left behind. It's not behind, but in front of you, before you, or like the after forefathers. And this is the bother. With the rest of this would be the poet, anonymous and the mother but the self. And this would be the selected for the spiritual. I can find a seer enough for the beat of that example over the bird's eye view. No wing is on the common ground. There's a place where I was lost and found. Lord, lift me. Lord, lift me. Lord, lift me. I just want to be your servant. Set us off with this creature inside. I don't want to be confused with your version of wisdom is only I can find. Within this earth is a vessel, we seen that for this would be the colors for the within the creator for the vessel, the seven oceans, your unburied, and number for the stars, a touchdown for your upraising within, for this is upraising with the eternal sound for the spring wells up, but the find a friend within. Translation, you fly away. And I said I wanted to create that for the one in the cream fine garden, flowers inside of me, for the traveler, for the river, for the road and galaxies, for the bank of the nest in the river, for all, for not to be the mouth can find a tope, the rope for this, and not to put on it for the ground, for this is time to find a no brain for the four. My Lord, with a body for the no mind, for this to be the place where I could find the lesson. So let's be thirsty for the great absence when you would find nothing, for the into the eternal body, for your own body, for the side, for the place where you rest your feet, for this care for the car carefully, for the be the thoughts, and imagine everything from what you stand firm in what you are. There's a moon inside of my body, and you better find. I can see if the moon is the sun of enough of the drum for the never touch the hands of the beat, if I can hear it. Ask the human being worries about when he would die, for this is when he has. This is the work is sincere for the affection, for the creature, for this own dead, enough for you never be alive, for the purpose of the labor to learn, for you can never learn, but labor was over for the blossoming, enough for the create that fruit, for this to be the petal for the fall. Or must have find a musketeer, for this the deer, for the not, for the look for the wandering around there looking for grass, and this to find out I can bow the body out for mine, for this to find and seek me. There's a creature inside of me, growing with the symbiosis in the light of the sun. This is the light for the sun, for the moon. The stars that shine bright enough for the melody. The swells and swells to find the love. For this is rhythm for the love of detachment in your beats. And this is the time for the day, for the night, for the chorus, the music, fill your heavens. And this is all. Said I for the beloved, for the glimmering, and light for the lights and the flash again the sky. For the lamp in your universal singing and worship. For the day and night, for the hidden, the banner, for the secret canopy. People over, I can see the sound and dressing your resting over the bells is heard. Adoration that never ceases the Lord of the universe, for this is to sit on the throne. And I can find the committing ever so the few over the lovers of beloved. It mingles on over the heart for the devil, the currents and love of the detachment. Or mingling it over the streams, and you can find the sacred water that flows in day and night for the rounding your birth and death, and this is brought into it. And for the wonderful sight for the rest of the supreme. And this is the enjoying yourself in a minute for the course of love and swing. About the ocean for the joys and sway, and to and fro for the breaking forth into a song. Or a chord for this water for the without and laughter, and the heart to be the drinking over nectar. And in peace, and this music all around for the heart, for the partake of the joy, for the infinite, for the sea, for this to be the diving into the ocean with the sweetness and ever the find the love, the death to flee away, for this thirstified senses of the quenching, this is three the forms of misery no more. This is all the sport for the untameable, the one look within, for this is the when you find the ineffable, for this is the root for the union, for the sorrowless of the land, for this it has all that has some, for the infinite untameable, for the meditation to see with all the sight, and this is light, indeed for the sorrowless, and this is the path that leads you there, for this is the path of the substance sea, and find the transition for the transcending, all the sorrow for the wise and not the borrow, with the scenic for the wise and who sung in it for the ultimately, you have a word for the express yourself, and the martyr, if it's a savor for this ignorant man becomes wise, and wise man becomes a speech and silent idiot for the worshiper to be the inebriated, drunken with the cider for the all, for the life of the feeling inside the universe, and you can find the solving for the burning of the self for the knowledge, and cannot enter with the conflict for the life of this and felt for no more.
For being honest. It's horrible. I should just go around. No. You don't want to go there, man. I don't want to seem desperate. She's punishing me. I know. For being honest. It's horrible. I should just go around. No. You don't want to go there, man. I don't want to seem desperate. Why would she do that to me? She's punishing me. I know. For being honest. It's horrible. I should just go around. No. She's punishing me. She's punishing me. I know. For being honest. It's horrible. I should just go around. No. You don't want to go there, man. I don't want to see that. She's punishing me. I know. For being honest. It's horrible. She's punishing me. I know. For being honest. It's horrible. I should just go around. No. You don't want to go there, man. I don't want to seem desperate. Why would she do that to me? Hey, does anybody want a joint? God, Rob, give it a rest.